I'm Karen Caplan, President and CEO of Frida Specialty Produce, and I'm here today to talk to you about how produce trends. And I also, first would like to thank the traffic gods in LA for making no traffic today, because I came from Los Alamitos, which is down by Long Beach. Okay, so we're a second-generation, woman-owned and founded produce company. Started in 1962, and these are my family members that I work with. On the left is my oldest daughter, Alex. Next is my sister, Jackie, who's my business partner. And right in the back is my 93-year-old mother, Frida Caplan. So I'm super happy that she's here. And by the way, we do not dress like this every day. So the way we got started is my mom had me, and then she was looking for a job where she could take care of me, and she found out that my dad's aunt and uncle ran a produce company in Los Angeles, heard they had flexible hours, so she got a job there, and she was a cashier. So that's how my mom started. She was a cashier at the produce market, and this was the first thing she sold. You recognize these, right? You're probably thinking they're very trendy, but back in the 50s, when she started, there were virtually no fresh mushrooms. Everything came from Taiwan in a can. So she was considered the mushroom queen by introducing California brown mushrooms to America. But she's probably better known, and we're probably better known for introducing this product. Kiwi fruit, my mom introduced to America in 1962. Actually, it was called the Chinese gooseberry. She renamed it the kiwi fruit. And the kiwi fruit is typical of every produce item that trends. It's one person that makes a difference that actually causes that change. And it was actually a single consumer who went into a Safeway store in Salt Lake City after tasting the Chinese gooseberries in New Zealand and asked her produce manager to see if he could find some. And thank goodness that produce manager ended up calling my mom, and we have the kiwi fruit. So this is what grocery stores look like now, right? You walk into the produce department, it's not a big deal to see star fruit and horned melons and all kinds of varieties of apples. But when my mom started back in the 60s, there were about 65 items in the produce department. Can you imagine? 65 items. Now, we probably sell 65 varieties of tomatoes, right? So now we probably have 600 or 865 items in the produce department. So you're probably wondering how we ended up that way. I will say you can't see it on this slide, but actually you can see it on this slide. There's labels on some of those items. You can see the labels on the horned melons. Our company is also credited with introducing labeling to the produce industry, because when you have 65 items, everybody knows what an apple and an orange and a potato is. But when you're selling passion fruit and Cherimoyas and celery root, you have to put a name on it. So when we started looking for new products and considering new products, there were three things that are important to us. Number one, we have to have decent volume of products. So have to have enough product that we can introduce it in the marketplace. Number two, we want a product that tastes good or has some kind of nutritional quality, some kind of appeal to the consumer. And number three, something that's a trade term that you might not think of as a consumer, is does it have a decent shelf life? That means how long will it last? Because even though we all want to go to the farmer's market and buy our produce right from the farmer who just harvested this morning, realistically, from the time product's harvested to the time it ends up in a grocery store, or on a chef's table, is usually about 7 to 10 days. So those are the things that we keep in mind. Now you can see this map, and you can imagine that we've introduced more than 200 new specialty items to Americans in the last 55 years. You're probably thinking, like, I want to see Karen's passport. She probably travels all over the world, and she gets to find all these weird things. But in fact, what happens is people have found us. From the very beginning, when the buyer from Safeway called us about the kiwi fruit, we've developed a reputation of being open-minded, and I really credit my mom with that. Not only was she the first and only woman on the produce market, she was also the only one who was open-minded, considering new items. So whether it's rambutan from Honduras or Guatemala, or kiwi fruit from New Zealand, or the pitaya or dragon fruit, which by the way are the same fruit, they're just different names. Pitaya is Spanish, dragon fruit is the English translation of a Chinese word. That shows it's from Thailand. We also have them from Israel. Usually the growers find us, word of mouth. This is even before the internet. People know that Frida's is open to new items, so they contact us. So for us, every new product we've introduced has a story. So it's not just we sold a kiwi fruit or we sold a horned melon. It was John Morris who called us with the first horned melons. It wasn't just a Cherimoya. It was the Brown brothers from Carpinteria that had a story that we loved. So my talk was from kale to, it said dragon fruit on there. I crossed off the Cherimoyas. So let me talk about kale. Is anyone here over kale? Probably everybody's over kale, right? And you're probably thinking, all of a sudden, kale was everywhere, right? That's what I think. And in fact, we did some research. Kale wasn't just happen. It was kind of gradually, then suddenly. And in fact, the way kale started was in 1996, right here in Los Angeles, the LA Times published a poem called Oh, Kale. That is the official beginning of kale. And then a couple years later, some guy named Bo made a t-shirt that said, eat more kale. And then a company named Brad's Kale Chips was launched, and they make it into a snack food. I think about 2013, Bon Appetit magazine names it the year of kale. 2014 was the first National Kale Day. Did everybody celebrate it on October 5th? I did. And then what happens after National Kale Day? In 2015, we have kale backlash, right? Because everyone's so sick of kale. And now, this year, what happens is you can go and order your kale salad at McDonald's. I'm sure no one goes to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or Burger King. Believe it or not, they all have kale on their menu. But if you think back, 1996 to now, that's about 20 years. So let me tell you about the kiwi fruit. So the kiwi fruit my mom first introduced in 1962. And some people think, well, then it was kiwi. Well, it took us a very long time. We say it was until 1980 when chefs like Wolfgang Puck and Alice Waters started putting them on their menus. Bon Appetit and Gourmet magazine started featuring them on the covers and adding them into recipes. That kiwi fruit really took off, 1980. So we've always called kiwi fruit our 18-year overnight success story. So think about it. Kiwi fruit took 18 years in 1962. Kale took 18 years. Okay, from 1996. It's kind of pretty amazing. Things really haven't changed that much. So this is how trends happen in produce, okay? And it's always happened this way as long as we've been in business. I don't really see it changing too much. But it starts with chefs. Chefs are always looking for new products, and it was, not quite at the speed they are right now. And now some of the chefs not only are looking for new products, they're actually growing their own products and serving them in their restaurants. But chefs have always wanted to be different. They want to stand out from each other. They're always looking for the newest, the latest, the greatest. They're willing to try anything. It doesn't matter what the shelf life is. It doesn't matter what color they are, where they come from. They just want to experiment. So whenever we had a new product to introduce, we would always go to chefs first to get their opinion and have them start using the product. Next comes the food media. So when I started working for my mom a long time ago, my first job was to get to know all the food editors and food writers. That's what they were called, by the way. They weren't called bloggers. They were called food editors back then. And so I was talking to the LA Times and the New York Times and the Washington Post and Bon Appetit and Gourmet. I was talking to everybody, and they always asked one question: what's new? Tell me what's new. Tell me what's the next kiwi fruit, Karen. So we have the media now who always wants to talk about something new. And now, of course, they can do it really quickly. They can tweet about it or put it on Facebook or Instagram it or do anything with it, write a blog about it. It's very, very fast. Before, they were writing in newspapers and magazines. So they're pushing the envelope in terms of trends. So we've got the chefs who are very experimental. Then we have the food media that's writing about it. And then who would have thought that I was going to tell you that supermarkets, like I said, point up here, supermarkets would be part of the trend. But think about it. Just in Los Angeles, you go to any supermarket you shop at, do they kind of all look the same? I mean, they all kind of look the same to me. But what they all know is the number one department that consumers consider before selecting a supermarket is the produce department. So that's why you see Ralph's and Vons and Gelson's and Aldi now and Sprouts and Whole Foods all putting a lot of emphasis on their produce. So how are these folks going to stand out from each other? They're going to be looking for new trending items. They're a little bit slow to the party. Whoever's in the media, please do not quote me on that. But they're a little bit slow to the party. Definitely chefs are leading the way. So my talk was from kale to dragon fruit. So let's talk a little bit about dragon fruit, because it's dragon fruit's everywhere. Would you say dragon fruit's everywhere? Dragon fruit's everywhere. I think we even brought some this morning. So there on the left, you used to get an acai bowl at your local juice bar. Now you get a pitaya bowl, right? Probably somebody had one for breakfast this morning. You have dragon fruit infused vodka, which is interesting because dragon fruit really doesn't have any flavor, but there it is right there on Sky Vodka, my favorite drink. And then you have dragon fruit scented Febreze. By the way, that is our dragon fruit on that package. But it not only doesn't have any taste to speak of, it doesn't smell. So it is like so funny to me that Febreze, Procter & Gamble decided this. And instead of having orange juice in the refrigerated section, now we have dragon fruit mango. So you would think dragon fruit was gradually then suddenly there, right? That's what it just happened. Well, in fact, this is what the dragon fruit looks like on the inside. Our first contact with the dragon fruit grower, how long ago do you think that was? It was 1994. Okay, we had a little dragon fruit grower here in Southern California, came to us with some cuttings out of his backyard crop and talked about how passionate, it's always one person, right? Talked about how passionate he was about the product, and we gave him some input on how to package it and how to size it, and we tasted it to see how it tasted, and then he continued to produce from year to year, and like all growers, he started going to grower conferences. Believe it or not, there is a dragon fruit grower conference. I spoke at it a couple months ago. So all these growers get together and they kind of are at the coffee shop and they're sharing best practices. So he met farmers from Texas and farmers from Florida. Those are all places you can grow dragon fruit in the United States. And so we have these little tiny backyard industries growing. So that started with 94, and now boom, what happened? 2008, U.S. Department of Agriculture opened up the borders and allowed us to import dragon fruit from Vietnam. Okay, even though the fruit was irradiated, we still were bringing in 40-foot trailers, 40,000 pounds at a time, of the most gorgeous dragon fruit. It's the one in the middle, the white one. That's the dragon fruit from Vietnam. Again, it doesn't have a lot of flavor, but is so gorgeous. So what happens when you have 40,000 pounds arriving every single week? Well, you call the likely customers. So we call all the large Asian markets where all of us shop, right? We don't have to be Asian to shop there. And then we call all the Hispanic markets. And then all the chefs are putting them on their desserts and on their menus. And then the conventional supermarkets, they want dragon fruit too. And now we have dragon fruit infused vodka, okay? 18 to 20 years, same timeline. So let me tell you about another new trending item. I don't know if you all know what this is. This is a purple sweet potato. So we all know sweet potatoes have been trending for about 12 to 15 years. They're on every menu now. You don't just order baked potato. You can, if you're ordering that, you can order a baked sweet potato. You can have sweet potato fries. We even have sweet potato pasta. Now, so what happens is about 5 years ago, our sweet potato grower calls us and says, we sell regular sweet potatoes. We found this purple one, and it's growing, and it seems to be producing, and we need your help, and we know your company color's purple, and we know that you're really good at marketing these unusual things. Can you give us a hand? So we take over marketing the Stokes Purple sweet potatoes. Purple was trending. It was named the color of the year. I think it was 2012 or 13, something around there. Radiant Orchid was the color. We take partial credit for that. We were doing a lot of hashtag Power of Purple that year. So we started marketing the Stokes Purple sweet potato. So what did we find out? We found out that the people that were looking for this product, they were writing to us. They were writing on Facebook. They were sending us emails. And they were telling us that two groups of people were looking for the sweet potatoes. One, high-performance athletes. They said when they were running and exercising, this sweet potato, because the texture is completely different, really helped them maintain their energy and the kind of dense carbohydrates it had. The second group was a group that kept mentioning a book called Blue Zones. Anyone here heard about Blue Zones? It's a book by Dan Buettner, who's a National Geographic researcher, who's researching all over the world places where people live a long time. And in fact, in Okinawa, Japan, there's the largest concentration of people who live over 100 years. And when they did research on their lifestyle and the foods they ate, they analyzed probably you can get the book, 6 to 8 different foods. What do you think one of the foods was that they consumed in inordinately large quantities? Purple sweet potatoes, which was very interesting, not what we were expecting. Oh, and we love purple so much, we put it on our truck. So let me talk about a little bit what's next. The trend that we're seeing that's changing now, in addition to chefs and the media and supermarkets, is this notion of food as medicine. We feel that that the medicinal health qualities of products are really driving the consumption and popularity of products. Just like the purple sweet potatoes, we have this phenomenon, if you want to live to 100 years, you want to eat lots of purple sweet potatoes. So we see that's a very, very big change. So instead of just looking for things that taste good or things that are a different color, people are now looking for foods that are healthy. And I actually went back into my speech file and noticed that 30 years ago, I was giving a speech entitled Food as Medicine. Okay, we were way ahead of our time, but let me tell you the exciting and innovative products I was talking about 30 years ago. I was talking about, are you ready for this? Garlic. Garlic was good to purify your blood. I was talking about fresh chili peppers and fresh herbs as flavorings, as an alternative for people who had to cut down on sodium in their diet. So it wasn't 18 years for that trend, but it was a lot longer. But we're seeing a huge, huge resurgence in interest in food as medicine. So let me talk about the future, so what's coming. So I've kind of told you how trends happen in produce. So let me talk about some things I see coming up. Now you see a tomato on the top of that screen, and you're probably thinking, tomatoes, there's a lot of tomatoes, but, how innovative and trending are they going to be? What I think you're going to find, and this is of interest for all the men, gentlemen in the audience, is you're going to start hearing about the nutritional qualities of tomatoes. Tomatoes that are high in lycopene. Lycopene is important for prostate health. So now many females in the audience have always been interested in our health and taking care of our bodies and everything, is now there's something that appeals specifically to men. So you're going to start hearing about the nutritional qualities of products, not just tomatoes, but tomatoes is one thing, and lycopene tomatoes have been around for a long time, but now I think the message is going to resonate and people are going to pay attention to it. In the upper right-hand corner, I mentioned garlic earlier. This is black garlic. Some of you may have seen this and tried it. Very, very popular. Why? Not only because of the health qualities of regular garlic, but this garlic is heated up very, very high for a short period of time, and it caramelizes and has kind of a teriyaki type flavor, and it has that umami flavor. That's just that super yumminess that's kind of indescribable. So you're going to see that added to pastas and recipes, and people are going to even, my daughter actually just eats it out of hand. So, and by the way, with black garlic, you don't get garlic breath. Well, that might be a benefit. And then this fruit right here, and I'm laughing because when I was practicing, I thought, jackfruit is really big. An average jackfruit is 10 to 20 pounds. So that's about right on the slide. That's how big they feel when you're shipping them. So jackfruit, why have you guys all heard of jackfruit? It was in the Wall Street Journal a couple of weeks ago. It is like the most trending fruit right now in America. And why is that? Well, it started with the popularity of all the Asian cuisines. It's originally from Thailand. Now most of the product comes from Mexico. But it's very interesting why jackfruit's so popular. Now, if you're a vegan, you probably know this, that jackfruit, the texture of jackfruit is like meat. So if you ever were looking for a meat substitute that wasn't soy, you would go to the canned food section or the frozen food section, and you would get jackfruit. And you could make it taste like steak or fish or chicken or anything you want. And we sell it fresh. That's what it looks like fresh. There are people in the audience here that are actually getting ready to process that so they can allow consumers to get it and not have to deal with cutting a jackfruit. Because if you can imagine cutting a 20-pound fruit, it's a lot of work. We all know what this is, right? Turmeric. Turmeric was named the flavor of 2016. And why was it popular? And by the way, we've been selling turmeric for well over 10 years. Why is it popular? Again, going back to food as medicine, or we call it the Dr. Oz effect, is anti-inflammatory. Turmeric is known for its anti-inflammatory qualities. And we kind of laugh at my office is the Dr. Oz effect. So Dr. Oz will be on his show, and he'll talk about some new item, lemongrass or turmeric, and then within 2 days, literally, our phone starts ringing, and the buyers are like, we don't know what's going on, but everyone's in our stores asking for turmeric. Do you have any? And we're like, yeah. Dr. Oz mentioned it 2 days ago. You should have listened to us, 2 months ago when we suggested the item. So this was the flavor of the year last year. We suspect it to be the ingredient of the year for 2017. And popular originally because of using curry in all the Asian sauces. And of course, now you can have it in tea and everything else you want. So at our company, we think that our success has been due in finding all these new items to a combination of luck and destiny and great timing. So that open-mindedness I mentioned about my mom, from the time she started in 1962 is something that we've really embraced, and that makes a very, very big difference in introducing trending products. So if you're at all fascinated with the story of a woman who 55 years ago started a produce company in all men's world in the Mad Men era, a documentary film was actually made about my mom and our family business called Fear No Fruit. It was shot in 10 days by a local filmmaker here. You can see it was at a few film festivals. It's called Fear No Fruit. I think in the program it says you can get it on Amazon or iTunes. So in closing, one of my favorite quotes is Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Do one thing every day that scares you." Well, at Frida's, we say, eat one fruit a day that scares you. Thank you.